it's very hard to define trauma in a way. Is it external? Is it internal? Is it the event? Is it the reaction? But basically, the way I like to say it, it's something that overwhelms your capacity to cope, and nobody else takes over for you at that particular point. So, and then you get stuck. And so your whole central nervous system continues to experience the ongoing world through the lens of that particular overwhelming experience. And so you continue to be constantly scared, or feel like people are going to attack you, or feeling like you're going to be left for dead. And so you continue to react to oftentimes fairly trivial challenges as if it is a catastrophe. And it's really the ongoing reaction that really defines what trauma is about. It's so that your mind and your brain gets changed by trauma, and then from then on, you live in this traumatic internal world. Mm-hmm. So the trauma lives inside of you, basically. Yeah.
Not what happens to you, it's what happens inside you. That's a good thing, by the way. Because if trauma, in terms of what happened to me as a Jewish infant under the Nazis, if that was the trauma, I'll never be a person who wasn't a Jewish infant under the Nazis and during that period of genocide. If trauma is the fact that you were abused as a child, you will never be a person who wasn't abused as a child. Trauma can also be inflicted not by what happens to you, but what doesn't happen that should happen. So that when your needs aren't met, that can wound as well. Even though you weren't overtly hurt, you were still wounded by not having your essential human needs met. But if that was the trauma of what happened to you, guess what? It'll never unhappen. But if trauma is what happened inside you, the wound that you sustained, the meaning you made of it, the way you then came to believe certain things about yourself or the world or other people, and if trauma was that disconnection from the authentic self, well, guess what? Good news. That can be restored at any moment. So that's why, Sharon, when you talk about the new view of trauma, when we see it as that wound, as long as we see it that way, it's a wound that can be healed. If we see it as a bunch of things that happened, that'll never unhappen. But we don't have to, the biggest lesson for me, and one I continue to have to learn, is that we don't have to allow it to define our lives, how we see ourselves, how we see the world, how we relate to the world, other people, how we relate to possibility,